All right, welcome to our deep dive into Chapter 10 of Vibe Coding, which is called Know Your Instrument. In this explainer, we're going to get into how you can treat your AI partner not just as some generic tool, but as a unique instrument with its very own voice. And trust me, getting this right, it's an absolute game changer. It'll save you so much time and frustration down the line.
So let me ask you a question. Would you ever try to play a banjo like it's a violin? I mean, of course not, right? You'd get this horrible, screechy, frustrating sound. And that super simple idea, well, that's the key to unlocking a much better collaboration with any AI model you work with.
Think about it. Every single instrument in an orchestra has its own soul, its own character. And it's the exact same thing with AI models. Some are going to be these super precise logicians, others are more like wild, creative poets. If you try to force a banjo to sound like a violin, all you're going to get is static and a whole lot of frustration.
And that brings us right to the core idea of this chapter, understanding the model's character. This isn't just about writing better prompts. It's about choosing the right player for the right song in the first place.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with a pretty funny cautionary tale. Then we'll jump into the practical solution, something called the AI interview. We'll cover the tools you need for it, and then how to use what you find to become a masterful conductor.
So what exactly happens when you totally misunderstand your instrument? Well, let me tell you a story from the book that illustrates this, perfectly.
Okay, so the author was wrestling with this really nasty memory leak in some C++ code. At the same time, he was experimenting with this brand new AI model called Poetron 5000, which was famous for its beautiful lyrical prose. And, in a moment of total desperation, he asked the poet for help with his code.
And this is what he got back. Instead of a technical diagnostic, the AI wrote him a 3-page Shakespearean tragedy about fleeting memory sprites and the ravenous maw of the untamed heap.
I mean, the response was beautiful, for sure. But for debugging, it was completely and utterly useless. See, the author had asked a poet for a sonnet when what he really needed was a systems analyst. He was playing the banjo like a violin.
So how do we avoid making that same mistake? Well, we need a way to get to know our AI before we dive into a project. And the book introduces a really powerful technique for doing just that.
It's called model profiling. And the easiest way to think about it is like a job interview for your AI. You're basically running a series of tests to discover its core personality. Is it a logician, a poet, an architect, or maybe some kind of mix of all three?
Okay, so how do you actually conduct this interview? Well, this chapter gives us a super practical guide, 7 different types of test prompts, or probes, that let you explore the AI's full range, its strengths, its weaknesses, all of it.
These probes are designed to reveal every little aspect of an AI's character. A simple greeting checks its default tone. Logic tests probe its analytical mind. Creativity tests, well, they check its imagination. You've got structure tests to see if it's a good architect for code or data. You test its flexibility with tone. You check for biases. And, this one's important, you see if it admits when it doesn't know something. So first up, you want to test its analytical mind. You give it logic puzzles, problems that have multiple steps, and tasks with really strict rules, especially things it's told not to do. What you're looking for here is precision. The author tells this great story about one model that solved a classic river crossing puzzle by just having the fox spontaneously learn how to swim. Creative? Yeah. Logically sound? Not so much. But that tells you something crucial. This model leans towards creative workarounds even when you need pure logic.
Next, you get to probe its poetic soul. Here, you're testing its ability to come up with fresh ideas, use really vivid imagery, and just show some flair. You're basically looking for that spark of novelty.
This is how you find out if your AI is secretly a quirky genius. The author once asked a model for unexpected uses for a simple paperclip. The answer he got? Use it as a tiny antenna to receive whispers from parallel dimensions. Now that's not exactly practical, but it tells you this AI is amazing for out-of-the-box brainstorming.
Now, for a lot of technical tasks, you really need to know if your AI is a good architect. Can it produce reliable, structured output like code or outlines or JSON or tables?
A really good interview can uncover these hidden talents. The author actually found a general-purpose model that turned out to be surprisingly brilliant at formatting complex YAML files, a strength that wasn't even mentioned in its documentation. That's a gem you only find through profiling.
Okay, so you've done the interview. What now? You need to document what you've learned, and the chapter suggests a fantastic tool for this, the Model Profile Card.
Now, what's so great about this is that it turns your little investigation into a practical, reusable tool. This card becomes your quick reference guide. Before you start any new project, you can just look over your cards and pick the absolute best instrument for the job.
And ultimately, this whole process, it elevates you. You go from being a kind of frustrated user to an informed collaborator, a conductor who truly understands the unique capabilities of their entire digital orchestra.
This quote from the author just perfectly sums up the chapter's core message. Knowing your instrument, that's what transforms simple prompting into a true harmonious partnership that can produce some absolutely incredible results.
And that leaves us with this final thought. The next time you come across a new AI, don't just jump right in. Take a little time to interview it, to really learn its voice. Because knowing your instrument, that's the very first step to creating your masterpiece.